Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on our website, our channel, or our social media. Reach out to me directly, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing the watch that made the Rolex Sky-Dweller. This is the Oyster Perpetual Sky-Dweller, steel white gold, launched in 2017. This is 326934 with a white gold bezel and everything else Rolex highly anti-corrosive 904L steel. It's 42 millimeters in diameter by a surprisingly thin 13.8 by 50.4 millimeters lug-to-lug and 52.3 millimeters end-link to end-link, with a nice generous 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now the watch wears well on a 16 centimeter circumference wrist, which is what I have. You can also see it's probably lower and flatter than you imagined. It doesn't wear anything like the Explorer 2, which I feel is almost board-like. Broad, plank-like, flat. This timepiece feels like a giant Datejust, and the case line's pretty much square with that assessment. I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. It would look good, it would feel good, it would fit securely. A quick look at the hardware and the software. Rolex, of course, has a factory where it makes its own cases, bracelets, and clasps, and you're getting that oyster steel right here. Effectively more anti-corrosive, or I should say less corrosion prone than conventional 316. That's the main difference in terms of chemical composition, but it's also nice to know that your watch manufacturer builds every part of its watch. Oyster bracelet, 3-link design, polished centers, polished outer faces, satin shoulders, removable links fixed by screws. There is a lift lock system internally with a beak and a hook, so you can see it actually latches shut. You can't just pull it open, you do have to unlatch it to open it. It's not crude and it's quite secure. You'll also note that there is an easy link system built in, 5 millimeters of tool-free adjustment, the equivalent of adding or removing one of these sizable links, and then there are 3 divots drilled inside the clasp that allow you to re-anchor the bracelet, so you can change the anchoring point. So 3 ways: removable links, easy link, and the anchoring points to change the fit on your wrist. I mentioned this is like a giant Datejust, and it really is. The case lines are the same, albeit in a larger scale. Handsome, polished lug hoods, tapered lug profiles, a lovely compound curve, and you can see how light moves across the case. This is not the sheer mirrored wall of a Submariner or a GMT. Roll around, you can see there is a twin lock crown in steel, screw down crown, 100 meters water resistant, and then we have Rolex Gray Gold, which is a white gold alloy, 18 karat, that's gold and white straight through, as opposed to being conventional white gold, which is rhodium plated and once scratched looks yellow. This is the real thing, white straight through. Now the dial here has a blue sunburst. It's a significant improvement over the original Sky-Dwellers, which had a differential color pattern between the dial and the 24-hour GMT. So you can see that's blue and the dial is blue, so this is a whole lot more coherent than the early models. You'll also note that the Cyclops Eye wears better on a bigger dial than the 36 millimeter watches that normally bear it. You can see individual white gold applique indices, white gold hands, white gold Rolex coronet. Then you've got the 24-hour second time zone and an annual calendar system, and I'll demonstrate how this works. So once you screw out the crown, you can see in the first position it allows you to wind, but if you pull it out, when the bezel's justified all the way clockwise, nothing actually happens. So I'm going to justify 1 click clockwise. Now you can see I'm able to adjust the calendar. So the calendar is pretty straightforward. There's your date, but note that there's a little red index adjacent to the hours, 12 hours, 12 months. And you can see as I jump forward or backwards, and I'm jumping between 5 and 6, so I'm jumping between May and June here, that little red index jumps to an aperture outboard of the 6th hour, so that is June. Now the watch is an annual calendar, which means you only need to reset it once a year during the jump from February to March. Now we turn 1 more click counterclockwise, and now I'm actuating the local hour. Note that I can drive the date forward here, but I cannot drive it back. The watch is still keeping time. It's still ticking. The minute hand is not disrupted, nor is the second time zone. Okay, 1 more click all the way over, and now you'll note the watch is in a mode where I can set everything. I'm driving the second time zone, I'm driving the hour hand, I'm driving the date, and I'm driving the calendar. And note that this is how you activate the hacking seconds function, or the stop seconds, so you can set the watch precisely to a reference time. The ring command bezel, which is actually part of the movement, is fully half of the control set, the crown and the bezel for this watch. Inside, automatic winding, 70-hour power reserve, caliber 9001, 40 joules. It features a rotor bearing, which is tougher and more shock resistant than Rolex's previous jeweled staff. It's a COSC chronometer, but Rolex goes above and beyond. After receiving the chronometer certification, it cases up the movement and tests it to no worse than -2 + 2 seconds a day, which is the basis for the nomenclature's superlative chronometer in the modern era. It beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It has the 2 time zones, 12 and 24, the annual calendar, and it features a full balance bridge with a free spring index for shock resistance, a handmade Breguet overcoil hairspring to help it keep excellent time via concentric hairspring breathing in any position, the better to earn the chronometer certification. And that hairspring is made of blue oxidized niobium zirconium, which makes the watch exceptionally anti-corrosive. So it's a chronometer, it's automatic, it's a sports watch, it's a dress watch, it's an annual calendar, it's a GMT, and it's got a 3-day power reserve. Got that? Good. 42 might seem big for a Rolex, but when you combine all the features you're getting here, it actually seems remarkably compact. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing. Rolex Chromolite Blue Lume on the Sky-Dweller.